I hope I don't blow away on today's podcast. Welcome to Ciorcal Conversations. Today we're exploring 4 ways to help you reduce stress in real time. And we'll also finish with a breath practice to support you in that. The clouds are looking pretty grey above me, so hopefully it doesn't start raining. But we're going to crack on. Quick overview of the nervous system to begin. Our nervous system is the lens in which we interpret the world around us. It tells us if we're safe, if we're in danger, and creates responses in our bodies to match that. The different states that we can find ourselves in, rest and digest, is that very calm, connected state. Fight or flight is this energized state that helps us to either run away from trouble or face it head on. And then the freeze and fawn states. Freeze is exactly how it sounds. We lock up, we tense, we stay in that one spot. And then fawn is giving in to the demands of others, people pleasing. Again, it's a nervous system response. The nervous system is incredibly intricate. It's shaped by our previous experiences, our learned behavior, and also how we feel in our bodies. We've touched on that in previous podcasts. What we're going to look at today is how you can move away from a stressed system, how you can find calm day to day, real time, and even get ahead of stress before it actually manifests in the body, in the mind. Stephen Porges is the founder of polyvagal theory, which is a lens to help us look at nervous system regulation, and he says that safety is the treatment. And that's a really good starting point for our podcast today, because everything that we look at to help you soothe your nervous system has safety in mind. And if we can look at it through that lens, it's helpful, because if you think about the question, how can I make myself feel safe? That's a lot easier to answer than how can I regulate my nervous system? The first and quickest way to bring calm to your nervous system is through the breath. I'm continually fascinated by the power of the breath. It's something we have for free. It's inside us, and it's a tool to help us create safety in our bodies. If you find that stress is building up day to day, let's say you're in an office environment and you're getting more and more frazzled, or you're in a classroom and the kids are just getting on top of you, the quickest way back to regulation is to extend your exhale. So if you breathe in for 3, exhale for 6. We'll just do a couple of breaths here now. Breathing in for 3 and out for 6. And once more, in for 3 and out for 6. Really simple way to help bring calm to your system if you feel that stress is building up, if there's tension in the body, if the thoughts are racing. Extend your exhale is the first place that I would go to. And then just in general, slowing down your breath is a really helpful way to bring calm into the body. Think about the breath like a remote control for your nervous system. We're focusing on bringing calm here, so everything is going to be slower, gentler. But if we want to bring energy in, we can also use different breath practices to do that too. I'm going to take you through a longer practice at the end of this podcast called the Physiological sigh, which is really helpful for moments of stress where you feel like your mind is starting to race, your body is starting to close. We're just going to open things back up through that practice. I'm probably a little bit biased because I'm a breathwork facilitator, but the breath has been the most powerful thing to help me deal with stress over the course of my 20s. I found it quite late into my 20s. After navigating a lot of stressful times that I didn't really feel like I had the tools to manage. I'd done talk therapy, I was exercising regularly, I was journaling, but none of those things helped me to meet stress in real time. For example, if I was very busy with work, teaching and building up my own personal training business at the time, I didn't feel like I had anything to soothe, and I just end up scrolling on my phone or getting hammered on the weekends just to deal with the stress that was building up. And the breath has been such a pillar for me, both day to day in terms of the physiological sigh, or even just extending my exhale, but also those longer practices that I facilitate for as well. So to come back to the focus of this podcast, extending your exhale or slowing down the breath is the best place to start to meet stress that builds during your day. Moving on to our second way that we can deal with the buildup of stress or the buildup of energy in the body is movement, which is an incredibly underrated way to deal with stress. Stress is a physiological response that creates activation in the body. And in the past, if we think about that fight or flight, when stress built up, you'd either fight and use up that energy fighting, or you'd flight. You'd run away and use up that energy getting out of the situation. But nowadays, if we think about the lives we live, when that stress starts to build up, we're sitting at a desk, or we're in a meeting, or we're sitting on the couch, and there's nowhere for that energy to go, to be offloaded. So it continues to build up in the body, and that sends signals of stress into the mind, and our thoughts start to race, the rumination starts to happen, all because this energy is held inside us. And there's a lovely quote I use a lot with clients: if you don't use the energy will use you. If you don't have an outlet to put this energy into, that energy will use you in the form of overthinking, in the form of rumination. That cycle of stress that the body moves through, it has to be completed. If it's not completed, it will stay stuck. So how do we move that energy? Well, we can move it through the breath, but we can also use it through movement. One of my most shared reels on Instagram was me jumping around my garden, shaking my body, jumping through the feet, letting energy move through my body. And it looks a bit nuts, but it is so helpful to deal with stress. I do this between work blocks. Even if it's just a minute, I'll throw on a really upbeat song and I'll just jump around the kitchen, let the energy flow, move the spine, shake the body, let the energy flow through, because when I'm sitting at a laptop, it just starts to build up. So I need something to offset that. I also play hurling, which is a great way to channel my energy. I go to the gym, again, a great way to use up that energy. It's why regular exercise is so helpful for your mental health, for your emotional health, for your physical health, across the board, because it helps us use up the energy that otherwise would have been stuck. Moving your body is one of the best ways to manage your stress in real time. We have the general 10,000 step rule. I don't really buy into that. I think you should tune into what you feel like your body needs. But as a principle, general movement throughout the day is going to be really helpful. So a short walk in the morning, getting some sunlight, movement throughout the day, getting to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, doing some higher intensity training, getting your heart pumping, using things like shaking, loud music just to get some energy around the body, are all incredible ways to help meet stress in real time when it pops up, but also to keep you out of stress, to help mitigate the potential for stress to run the show for you. This might be a nice moment to reflect on when you have been stressed and noticing if you had any movement around that to help manage the stress. Usually stress builds and builds and builds. Let's say it starts at the top of a work day and it just continues to carry through, and all the way you're getting tighter and tighter, and there's no expression, there's no expansiveness, there's no movement there. It can be really supportive, even just 10 minutes to get some fresh air and move your body on a walk can be a way to offset what's coming through. The third way to help you deal with stress kind of ties into the second one, but it's more around where I am right now, which is out in nature. Neuroception is a nervous system concept that explains how our body is interpreting the world around us. So if we bring it back to safety, it's constantly scanning for if I'm safe or if I'm in danger. When you're out in nature, the messages that sends to the body are those of safety. If we think about like wide open spaces, blue light in the sky, grass, birds, bees, trees, the elements, wind, water. Our body is scanning these messages and interpreting that as safety in the body, and that sends messages up to the mind that tells the mind, okay, we're calm here, it's safe to relax. And you'll notice it in your heart rate. It can drop when you're out in nature, your breath slows, the tension in your body starts to soften. That's all because we're designed to be outside. And if you think about what most of our lives look like in this day and age, we're inside, we're surrounded by tight spaces, lots of people, cement, concrete, and we're not built for it. So it makes sense that when we're outside in the fresh air, our bodies can relax, you can breathe deeper, you can move more freely. I always think back to when I was really struggling with my body, like struggling to go for a walk because of nervous system dysfunction. There was a couple of weeks where I was just in constant pain, couldn't really work, couldn't move my body. And it was coming up to me going hiking in New Zealand with my cousin. And I was genuinely worried I wouldn't be able to hike. But once I got there and I was outside, my body just started to relax. And all of that tension that was building previously, burying myself in work, not facing my emotions, it all just started to soften. And over those couple of days, I carried, I think it was a 15 kg rucksack on my back for 2 full days, up and down a mountain, camped at the top of the mountain with no issues at all. My body felt amazing when 2 weeks previously, I couldn't even go for a walk. And afterwards, when I got back home after that, my body started to tighten up again, which was further proof that being outside in nature was so soothing for my nervous system. It reduced inflammation in my body, it quietened my mind, and that has always stuck with me since. When I tell clients to get... Got a bit of barking here. Daisy is... Daisy, stop! Sorry, a bit of dog trouble there. When I tell clients to go and spend more time out in nature, I always think of that hike that I did. What's also interesting about nature in terms of the effect that it has on our brains is it doesn't demand our attention. Nature isn't stimulating in the same way that a laptop screen or a phone is. It's actually the opposite. It just allows us to be. And again, that's so soothing for our nervous systems because it creates this sense of safety in the body. It's something I've reconnected a lot with over the past year, especially when I'm trying to build up the breathwork business now and get everything up and running, to consciously spend more time outside because I know the positive impact that that has on my ability to deal with stress when I'm working. I don't get as flustered on the laptop. I'm able to handle more in my day because I free up time in the morning just to get outside, sometimes getting my feet into the grass, grounding, which is so powerful for regulating the nervous system as well. But even just going for a walk or sitting outside, getting some fresh air throughout the day, playing sport. Even the gym doesn't feel as nice for me anymore because I'm inside. I love exercising outside, and it's made a huge difference over the past year to my energy levels, my mental health, my mood. It's just so powerful. And again, this ties in with point 4 around ways that you can create calm when you're feeling stress, is to spend time with other people. When I think of nature, I think about time outside by myself, but also meeting people outside as well. The 4th way you can manage stress in real time is to connect with other people. Our nervous systems are designed for co-regulation. So when we feel a sense of safety in the presence of somebody else, it allows our nervous systems to relax as well. They're literally syncing up. When somebody across from you is calm, they're speaking slowly, their breath rate is slow, you mirror that behavior as well. We're constantly scanning for things like eye movements, facial expressions, breath rate, which allow us to feel safe in connection with somebody else or feel a sense of danger that we need to get out of here. Stephen Porges again speaks about it a lot, that as humans, we're wired for connection. If we think about how tribes developed thousands of years ago, everyone had their place in the tribe. You knew your role, you were safe in connection with the other members of the tribe, and the worst thing in the world, worse than death for these people, was being kicked out of their tribe because they lose their sense of safety, they lose their sense of connection, which is a fundamental part of being a human being. So if we bring it back to how you can in real time help to soothe your nervous system, know your people and try and spend as much time in person with them as possible. We all know how good we feel after a conversation with a friend who allows us to feel seen in the things that we're struggling with. When I moved home from Australia, December 2024, I spent the next 4 months in my parents' playroom trying to build up a personal training business, and I was going days without actually connecting with people. And I was so stressed, just burying myself in a laptop, getting nothing done, and just winding myself up more and more. The only people I was speaking to were my parents when they'd come home from work in the afternoon. I was spending time with Daisy, my dog, but she couldn't speak back to me. And it actually pushed me to start creating community myself. I started to lean in more to meeting with friends, which really helped, going for walks in the park, and then beginning Run, Walk and Talk, which was an opportunity for people to come and connect with each other. Kind of selfishly, it was amazing for me because it gave me that sense of connection that I was missing so much. And it's no surprise that my mental health started to improve the more I was spending time in connection with others. So even if it's joining a sports team or coming along to some ciorcal community events, for example, or just finding a way to spend time in connection with others, reaching out to a friend on the phone who you haven't spoken to in a while, these are all so important for regulating your nervous system and for dealing with the stresses that come up in day-to-day life. I can't overemphasize that enough, how much of an effect that's had on me and how much of an impact that has on people I work with as well. When you tell them to just go and have fun with friends more, or spend more time with family, or put yourself in social situations, which isn't an easy thing to do. But if you can see it through the lens of you actually enjoying yourself, plus it being soothing for your nervous system, maybe you'll be more likely to do it, because it is a huge part of nervous system regulation that, to be honest, doesn't really get spoken about enough. Like, we have all of the breath tools, we know that exercise is helpful, nature, probably the awareness is there, but actually co-regulating with others isn't spoken about enough in my opinion, and it's a huge piece of the puzzle. These are all great ways to help you navigate stress in real time, but none of them are going to be effective if you don't find ways to implement them. And I think starting with the breath is super helpful because the breath is within us. It is the quickest way to regulation, as Andrew Huberman says. So for the last couple of minutes, we'll go through a short breath practice called the physiological sigh. That's really easy, it's quick, creates a sense of safety in the body. It's a big inhale through the nose, followed by a top-up inhale through the nose, and then a slow exhale through the mouth. So it looks like and we're just going to fall into a couple of reps now. You can do this 3 to 5 times as a break between work blocks, or if you're feeling that stress building, just check in with the physiological sigh. So start by just grounding with the feet flat on the ground, relaxing the shoulders, and in your own time just falling into my rhythm. And bring some sigh or sound on the exhale now. Calmer already. I feel super calm after that. I'm not sure about you. That practice, the physiological sigh, I've recorded that on my Insight Timer, which you can find below. There's loads of other down-regulating practices there as well for you to try out to help navigate stress in real time. If you're enjoying the podcast, if you find it helpful, sharing it with a friend or dropping a comment or a like on it is super helpful because it gets sent out to more people. So yeah, if you're enjoying it, please share it. Let me know how you found it, and I hope this helps you navigate your stress. Cheers.